Good morning, good evening, good afternoon, good morning, wherever you are around the world. Welcome to AHTV and Friends. I'm obviously not Tim. I'm Steve. Tim is going over to, he's going over to the PowerPoint thing with Ray. What's it called? Hammer the Point?
Yeah,
Hammer the Point. Yeah, with Ray tomorrow. So he's asked me to host tonight. I've got Chris with me.
Hello.
I've got David with me.
Hello.
And I've got Tom with me. Hi, guys. How you all doing?
Not too bad, mate. Not too bad. Late but here.
Yeah. So I think the first thing we need to start with is tonight. Let's go around. Start at Chris. Go around David and then Tom. Fellas, how was your season?
For me, I mean, it's been a bit weird regardless of the whole COVID thing, the whole restart and everything. At the beginning of the season, we were talking top 6, let alone top 10, and then we ended up having to battle relegation. So not an ideal season, but I mean, we're still in the Premier League for another season, so you can only build from there.
Yeah, it's been a real roller coaster. The first couple games of the season, I thought it was going to be, we're off to Europe. Then things just went horribly wrong, and it was. I mean, by the time we got to Christmas, it was heartbreaking. Then we got a nice little respite from the COVID after we got Moisey in, and then since the restart, I've been dead chuffed. It's the same old thing with West Ham. What if? What could have been? Just meh. At the end of the day.
Much the same as these guys. I thought we had a good first season under Pellegrini, and I thought we were ready to sort of take that next step. Hopefully, didn't really think we bolstered as well as we could have done. Maybe in certain areas in the last transfer window, specifically with sort of fullbacks and whatnot. The last summer transfer window was really excited to see the likes of Haller and Anderson link up. And unfortunately, it just didn't really work. Some players have obviously had worse seasons than others. I still think Haller is the man to take us forward, especially at striker role. I just think he needs better support in and around him. I think that the signings we made in January were fantastic. If we could have only sort of had those guys for a full season, how much better could our year have been? Because I think the likes of Souček is that sort of box-to-box midfielder that we've been crying out for years.
Yeah.
I mean, it's thankfully we're like Chris said, we're back in the Premier League for another year, which is the main thing. But it's just I felt like we were in an upward trend and we were on that cusp, and then it all just came sort of crashing down towards Christmas time. But I think thankfully for us, we sort of had that break to sort of regather ourselves, and we had a good mentality with Moyes going into sort of what we thought would be quite a final day relegation scrap. But thankfully we managed to avoid that. So yeah, I'm just hoping that this summer's a little bit better and we can regroup and go again in September or whenever the season starts again.
Well, for me, this season has totally frazzled me. It's mad to think that the first goal scorer of this season that's just finished was bloody Chicharito. Can you believe that?
Yeah. And it was almost a year ago. It was almost a year ago. We just wrapped up
a year ago.
And he's been at 2 clubs since then as well.
I know, it's just
it's true,
and this whole year, I think, has just it's totally done me. Not just for the football, but for everything, work and everything. I'm glad it's all bloody over and roll on 2021 and a vaccine for this COVID, and we can all get back to normal. That's what I'm hoping for.
I think we may get back to normal a bit quicker than you guys in America at the minute, though. I think the way it's going, it doesn't seem great over there right now.
Yeah,
I've got flights to San Diego booked in September. I'm really concerned.
California's in a tough spot. More so and that's what sucks about it most, is that it all varies state to state. Some of the more rural states never got impacted. Others, like Florida, New York, got hit hard. So and are still recovering. So
I'm quite impressed actually what you've done with the NBA almost over there, having that bubble. But I think other sports necessarily aren't going to have that, are they?
MLS and the NHL have also done that too now.
They have.
So yeah, and then you look at Major League Baseball, and they're just like discouraging players to exit from their team hotels, and now we've had 2 massive team outbreaks already. So the MLB days are numbered this season.
Yeah,
it is crazy, isn't it? Right. Anyway, before we go on, something I forgot to do that I should have done at the start of the show. I have to tell everybody, come and check out AmericanHammers.net. Great content on there, but more importantly, because this is a reasonably small channel and we don't operate any sort of patron or anything, our finances are solely through the shop. So visit the website, check out the shop. There's an American shop and an English shop. So the postage and packaging won't be too bad. There's some great stuff on there. So
buy some too.
Go and have a look, guys. Right. Let's get on with the football, shall we?
Let's do it.
Sounds good to me.
There's been lots of speculation. I'm sure you've all seen it, haven't you, about who we're going to sell, who we're targeting to bring in this year. And on the selling side, you've got to be looking at lots of people have said that Moisey has identified he wants to sell Anderson, Lanzini, Wilshere, maybe Masuaku, maybe Balbuena, maybe Yarmolenko, just some of them because he just doesn't fancy them, and others just like Wilshere because he's earning such a vast amount of money for doing virtually nothing, hiding in tumble dryers and things.
I forgot about that.
Sorry, I have a thunderstorm here now.
Oh,
fantastic.
All going on.
Yeah.
So, Tom, we'll start with you. What do you think? Would you want to get rid of all these people that are speculated, or are there any that you would rather keep? Is there anybody who's not been mentioned who you'd like to see the back of?
I don't think we're in a position where we can afford to have a mass exodus this summer, because I typically don't like it when clubs make like when they come up from the Championship to the Premier, it's like 10 to 12 new signers and you've got to gel them all in. I know necessarily not some of what we thought recently was some of our more consistent or better players have started going downhill, like Fredericks or whatnot, but I'd rather start to see us promote some of these youth players that we have in the youth team. I know Nathan Holland's been on fire this year in the Premier League too, and obviously he got a chance to go out on loan to Oxford. Ben Johnson came through in Gakia, even though that situation sort of didn't work out. But I think it's time, really. We've seen some of these guys now, even the last few years when we've had the likes of Keena and Tony Martinez, and I just think that even Xander Silva, Connor Coventry, these guys, I mean, they really start, almost need to be getting regular minutes in and around the first team. So that if we are looking and we don't have as big a budget as we necessarily have, and we're not after like selling lots of players, some of those youth players really need to come through, because I think from what we've seen from some of them this season, especially Dian Garner coming back and whatnot, I think they need to play a focal role in our development going forward. I think I'm really torn because I don't think we'll get much money for Wilshere. I don't see a club wanting to spend money on him or even pick up the 100 grand wages, whatever he's on. I dread to think. So I think we're lumbered with him. The likes of Anderson, obviously, you're probably looking to get 30 to 40 million from him. But I was reading today that, Moyes may not get Eze. And I said this on Twitter when I replied to, I think it's West Ham Fan Zone earlier. It really annoys me because obviously when a manager has outlined his number one target for the summer, similar to what Slaven Bilic did a few years ago with William Carvalho, when Slav said, I want him, I think he's the player to transform our midfield, etc. And they didn't back him, and they didn't follow through with that deal. Obviously, we know what happened with sporting club directors and whatnot. So I think if Moyes really wanted someone like Eze to transform the team, and they're not going to back him, I'm already kind of worried that our money's not going to go to where Moyes wants to improve the squad. I think the players like Lanzini, I think it's really unfortunate. His career was obviously derailed by his injury, and I'm so sad for him because he's just never looked the same player since. And obviously, we know how good he was. I'd even be tempted to to sell the likes of Yarmolenko potentially. We don't get mercurial talents like Felipe Anderson. They sort of come along once in a few years for us, and I still think there's a player in there in him. I just think he needs to work on not being so lazy, and what feels like going forward sometimes, he doesn't attack with that same intensity almost that he had in the first season. I don't know what was wrong with him this season, but yeah, I'm not against having like a mass exodus of getting rid of players. I just don't think it does the squad harmony, or the squad doesn't gel as well. We're getting lots of different names in, but definitely I think left back and right back would be somewhere I'd like to invest in if I had the chance, and then maybe somebody like an Eze or a Ben Rama if we found the money from somewhere. So yeah, other than that, there's not really too much I'd want in the way of signings this summer.
Cool. David, you're chomping at the bit there.
No, I'm just fidgeting. No, I mean, all of the names that have been mentioned that they're talking about getting rid of, I'm on board with all of that, except for maybe Yarmolenko. I think Yarmolenko would make a really good impact sub for us. No, I mean, the problem that we got is we're gonna have to clean house before we can go and buy anyone, and then we're only gonna have the money that we're getting from selling the players before. We're not gonna. There's not gonna be any extra money in there from Gold and Sullivan. So we're sort of cleaning house and getting rid of a load of players, and I don't know what's really out there to replace them. I agree with Tom. Yeah, we definitely need to shore up at the back. I think like 2 left backs wouldn't be unreasonable.
Yeah, the dream.
Certainly. I think Fredericks needs to go. We need another right back in, and I'm happy with Johnson there as well. Anderson, yeah, he can bugger off. We've got plenty of people we can use down the left.
Yeah.
Whereas I sound like a
sorry, Tom.
Yeah, I'll just tell you now, Kieran. Yeah, I've been to 2 different universities. I'm sorry, I can't help it. Training journalist. That's what
Me
it does.
too. I got kicked out of one of them.
Fantastic.
But no,
Chris, do you agree with the guys?
I for the most part, I do. I'm actually going to take this moment to plug a new show that Irish Tom and I are doing every Friday. It's called Trading Iron, where it's basically just the transfer rumors of the week, breaking them down, seeing who might be a good fit, who should go, who should we bring in, everything like that. And with that, I'm actually keeping an Excel sheet this year just to see how many players we actually are linked with, like individual players. We are currently.
Do you know what? I would love to see that, because that's going to be as long as you like, isn't it?
It's season ticket renewal
players.
27.
27
players
already.
Yes,
a season ticket renewal time. That's right.
Yeah. And then
Luka Jovic was being mentioned today, and I'm thinking there's not a chance in hell that we're going to get him on loan.
No.
And it just right around season ticket renewal time, all the names start flooding
in.
in.
Speaking of Irish, Tommy just joined the chat. But for me, I'm kind of in a similar position where I kind of want, like, regardless of the budget, I think that we do need to clear out the dead wood, and that will free up some availability regardless. I saw reports today that Anderson is in Rome. Supposedly, him and his agent are trying to forge a move back to Lazio. I've seen other reports with Lanzini drawing interest from Fenerbahce in Turkey. So it looks like those two could be off. Crystal Palace has had at least one, maybe if not 2 bids denied for Eze. So, I mean, we're kind of just in a holding pattern as we usually are. So, I mean, we're just waiting. I don't know why. I hate the waiting bit. I think that we need, when it comes to the difference between us and the teams like Crystal Palace, is that as soon as a window opens, they're chomping at the bit, and they're throwing money right at the get-go, and we kind of pansy around and wait until we can't get anyone and say, oh, well, too bad, we're just going to bring in these 2 players on loan.
Yeah.
But
Yeah, I want to quiz you about a couple of things that you said, Chris, if I may. The transfer list with the 27 so far on it. What's the craziest one on there? The most ridiculous one that you can
I
remember?
actually have that one. We're being linked with a midfielder from Calgary, Nahitan Mendez, for a whopping 36 million euro.
Is he Uruguayan?
36.
Yes, he's Uruguayan. I couldn't believe
Oh boy.
that. We can't afford a 16
mad.
million pound player in Eze.
Yeah, well, that's the thing, though. We've still got debts to pay off to Frankfurt for the likes of Haller. So it's there's and already we're in the minus before we've even started. So clearly that players have to go before we can even do anything. So it's like every time I see a new transfer room, I just brush it off.
Yeah, but also as well, didn't they tell Moyes that they've got to sell just to recoup what they paid for Souček? Am I right in saying that?
16.
Yeah, I forgot about
So-
technically we're in
So before we even start, we're on a
We're on to a loser.
If Anderson does end up going back to Lazio, that's not going to be good news for us, because we still owe them quite a lot of money for him, don't we?
yeah. That's just going to
And
clear
it's
that.
is that basically
considerably.
we still owe him Latvia
Yep.
so much that it'll just cancel the payment. So it's not like we're recouping anything. It's
Right.
just we're not paying them anymore.
Yeah,
Bad bit of business.
Very bad.
We've done a lot of that lately.
Yeah.
A lot.
yeah. But
Last 10
it
years.
will. It'll free up a little bit of wages, though, won't it? That's the thing.
I think the issue I
I
always
like
have
this.
with
What Tommy
sorry,
said.
go on.
Look at this. But
Yep.
it- exactly. Yeah,
if anybody ever asks what the West Ham way is, that's it. Surely.
Oh, absolutely.
I don't like the fact that when we say sort of that we'll free up wages, that those wages will actually go into positions that need filling and need, like, will that money be used wisely? Is my biggest issue with it.
Yeah, and surely they've learned by now though that and the vanity projects have ended. Especially since Moyes has come in the second time and signed Bowen and Souček, two great signings, not on massive wages, and they both have lots of potential and lots of promise. And I think that may be the way forward now, rather than signing the likes of like Anderson for a massive fee on massive wages.
Yeah, no, I don't think we haven't got the clout to do that. You might have one player in the team that's like that, where you've got a load of money in him, and that would probably be someone like we really need somebody that's a really good number 10. And then like what we've got around that would work, I think. But yeah, spending silly money on players is not something we can do anymore.
No.
Unless the Arabs buy us.
Now we're going to go on to that in a minute. But before we do, in this vein, right? We were just been talking. I think Tom said and Chris, I think, agreed that two of our biggest problems. I think you said this before we went live, Dave. Two of our biggest problems are left and right back. Our fullbacks are. We've got Johnson, and fortunately he can play either side. But do we need three more fullbacks? One to back up Ben Johnson and two for the other side that he's not playing on.
I think at least two.
Do you think that should be our priority before we do anything else?
Absolutely. Yeah, because we ship so many bloody goals from wide positions. It's not funny.
Yeah, I think Masuaku for me, obviously I know you said before about who you let go. I didn't mention him, but I think for me Masuaku needs to go this summer. I would keep Cresswell on just because squad depth at the end of the day. Like I said, I'm not about getting rid of everybody, and he's an English player, so he kind of fits the quota as well. I'm not set on Fredericks. I still, before with the restart, I did the two spanners, one hammer with Ray and with Charlie, and I hope that there was a player in there in Fredericks that could learn that defensive side of his game, but he just looked as so suspect at right back since we've come back. And I'm all for giving Ben Johnson a starting gig. So whether Fredericks goes to Southampton, I know he was linked with. I don't know, but for me, I think one left back and one right back would be the key. But I wouldn't be buying a right back that was starting almost maybe similar sort of level to Ben Johnson. I don't know, so they can fight for that spot. And then sort of, I don't know if there's what left backs we've been linked with yet. I haven't really checked, but yeah, I don't think we've skipped so many goals.
There was that fella at Wigan, wasn't there? I think we were linked with, weren't we?
And Anthony Robinson. See, again, I don't think that's a bad deal because, again, they've gone down. They'll need the money because of the situation they're in, and it's a less of a risk to take, I think, for that kind of money. For somebody that has a higher ceiling and could develop. I know he's sort of potentially those worries about injuries and stuff as to why he didn't get his move to Milan. But I would rather see us go for players like that, maybe on less money that have that high ceiling. I'd take the risk on that because, as David just said, the amount of goals that we shipped because solely of Cresswell's inability to catch up with players or defend properly this season. Since the restart, I mean, Adama, for one instance, you just knew it was going to happen. And unfortunately, teams have been targeting that area to attack us. So next season, I think that is our main position almost that needs filling, is specifically that left back spot.
Yeah. So let me just share this. Tell me what you think of this. It's coming. There you go. Now, who can you all see that? Okay.
Yeah.
This is the under 23s, the development squad. Who do we think could possibly break through next season?
Two names on that list I've seen.
Yeah,
Gonçalo Cardoso, 100%.
Yep.
Again, I can't really.
Coventry.
I can't. Yeah, Coventry, Cardoso, Johnson, obviously, Holland, Alessi as well, the centre back. Again, these are names I've not, and I don't know if Diallo's on that as well. Rosa, who's obviously supposed to be very, very talented. I can't say that I've sat and watched every single one of them play, but what you hear of the reports from them and their aptitude to learning and work, and we can see obviously by what Nathan Holland has done this year that these guys maybe deserve a chance to be sniffing around the first team. And there's certainly some good names in there because obviously we've pilched from some of the other top academies and tried to bring them in. So for me, Cardoso specifically, because I think centre-back may be an area where we need to sort of have maybe someone younger in there as well. To maybe partner up Bonner or learn, seeing as we didn't have seeing as Issa Diop didn't have a great season.
I agree.
I've also heard good things about Alessi as well. It's supposed to be a very good centre half. So yeah, there's definitely a few names in there that need the shot at the first team, or at least in and around the matchday squad.
Do we need to fill the bench with these kids, or do we need to start drip feeding them in one or two at a time? Chris, what do you think, mate?
It's a tough one. Combination of both for me, probably. Because for me, Rice was kind of one of those players where you just threw him out there and he just hit fire right from the get-go. I don't think we'll have another situation like that. I guess you could argue Ben Johnson, even Ngakia, but not all of them are going to end up stepping up. And at that point, if they're just on the bench, then they're kind of burning a hole in that spot. So, I mean, for me, I'm not too knowledgeable with the under 23, so I don't know to what their abilities are. So I can't really say, or I can't really give my own opinion just because I'm not well traversed enough.
I think
there's a few names on there. I think that. Go on, Dave. Go on.
I was going to say, if the long-term strategy of the club, as they've stated, is going to be that we're going to buy. Do what?
I think it's just a bit of delay.
Uh-oh.
He is talking, Steve. He's talking.
I think if the long-term strategy is going to be,
Try
as
again.
they've stated, that they're going to buy young players and develop players and then knock them on for a profit, we're going to have to bring the academy players through. But I mean, the way you do that is you don't sort of throw 5 or 6 youngsters on at once. You have your established team that are, your regular starters, and then you sort of take a chance one at a time. You fill one position with an academy product or somebody young you brought in, and slowly let them get minutes. Half an hour at a time, and then build them up, play them at the half, and then bring them all the way in for full starts.
Mm.
And if they gel, then you keep
I'm wondering as well if perhaps the financial problem that we're going to have regarding buying players and having to sell, like Tommy was saying, just to stay broke. I wonder if perhaps bringing all our loanees back might be an option.
I mean, I don't think that you can very well sit and have the Academy of Football on the side of the pitch if you're not willing to take a risk on some of these youngsters. We've been famed for bringing great talent through the youth system and giving them a chance to succeed. That was what we were based on. Some of our greatest, or even our greatest ever players, have come through the youth team and moved on to bigger and better things. And I think it reminds me of when, I mean, to Chris's point, Rice and Oxford specifically, obviously they were thrown in the deep end, but I remember both of them were hooked in the first couple of games. Obviously the Everton game, Reece Oxford was hooked at half time. I think when we came back and won 3-2 in that famous game, he was hooked at half time. And I know it might have been against Liverpool. I think that Declan Rice got hooked as well.
Yep, that's right.
But the difference between those two was that Rice had the aptitude to go back and work and get better, whereas Oxford, it all got to his head after that Arsenal game. So if these guys are showing the effort in training and they look like they're ready to break into the first team, like so many of them have, like Dejan Garner this season has been a revelation for West Brom. These guys clearly are chomping at the bit to succeed, but we can't be signing all this talent and then not trying to bring them through. And I know the fans are crying out for these 40, 50 million pound players, but as David said, I don't think we're in a position to be able to afford the luxury players. We need players that, when we're in the sort of position that we're in, that are ready to put in 110%. And I think the youth at West Ham, the fans are much more accepting if a youth player was to cock up and then go away, get better, and then come back again. Whereas the 50, 60 million pound players, it's like they're on their back instantly because it's like, why aren't you producing? So for me, I would much rather some of those youngsters drip feeding them into the first team, start to see him on the bench. If Dejan Garner comes back next season, Anderson goes, I think he should be starting. I think Holland should be on the bench most weeks because I think like I said, he's had an exceptional season for the Premier League too. But like I said, you cannot have Academy of Football on the side of that pitch if you're not willing to invest in these youngsters and give them the opportunity to succeed, which I don't think we've done for quite some time, other than Declan Rice, obviously.
Well, speculation is rife, and we are all only guessing, really, aren't we? Until these things actually happen, we're not going to know about it. So I think we should leave that there for now. And before we move on, just a quick question, Tom.
Yeah, if you watched the Hammers Chat watch-alongs with myself and Charlie, it's become a staple of the watch-alongs we did since the restart, which is me drinking from a past. So yes, I know American Hammers did their own watch-alongs each week, but myself and Charlie were doing it on Hammers Chat. So yeah, we had quite a few people in there commenting on what I was drinking from. You just have to accept it.
Right, Dave, you mentioned something during the last chat very briefly, and I said we'd come on to it. And that you mentioned about the Saudis.
Yeah.
Now, obviously, the move for Newcastle is well documented that it's all falling apart now. They got fed up waiting for the Premier League to grant them whatever it was they had to grant them to actually go on and buy the club from Ashley. If they did change their sights south and they came sniffing round the London Stadium, would you entertain or would you like to see the Saudis buy out GSB at our club?
I've got no shame. I would absolutely love, Mohammed bin Salman to buy out West Ham. I don't care about the human rights atrocities. I don't care about any of that. If we can sling a couple $100 million quid, at the club, I'm in.
Wow. Chris, what do you think, mate?
Honestly, I haven't even considered it. Like, I have no clue.
Chris?
I'm talking. Can you hear me?
Yeah, he's a bit of a delay.
Yeah. For me, I think, it's obviously.
Yeah. I think your thunderstorm's upsetting your connection.
The other way around, Steve.
Yeah, I think it's yours, unfortunately. But for me, it'd be kind of interesting. I'm not really sure how I'd feel about it because of the moral issues with the human rights violations. Yeah, that is one hell of a sentence.
Yeah.
With the human rights issues,
and then to just get up and walk out, David, after making a sentence like that.
Yeah, Dave, look what you've done. Look what you've done, Dave.
But it would take us to the next level with the kind of money that they have. They wouldn't be fumbling around like GSB do every window. So we would be able to bring in the top talent, but from a moral issue standing, I don't.
Yeah.
So
yeah. Well, personally, I'm going to go completely against what David's just been saying. I would much rather be broke and clean than rich and dirty, to be honest.
That's kind of how that's my standing as well.
Yeah.
I don't think that they had. I'm not sure if they pulled out the deal because I know that obviously the human rights violations was a massive side of it, but there was reports that they may not have had the money that they potentially thought they had or something like that. I don't know if I'm completely wrong in saying that, but I swear I read something that said that they didn't necessarily have the money that they were talking about having. I don't know. Obviously, the human rights violations is a massive thing. So I'm kind of the same. I'm sorry, Dave, I don't want to leave you on your own. That might have been what I read, what Tommy said.
Yeah.
So, yeah, I just if it was somebody like Sheikh Mansour almost that didn't have those connections to the human rights, and it would be typical West Ham to be bought by somebody that had all these different issues with them and different violation rights and all that kind of stuff. But yeah, I'd rather be linked to somebody that had a cleaner past than the Saudis have. So yeah. But I can imagine that we will 100% be linked with them because it's West Ham United.
Of course. Of course.
If anything screams dirty, it's West Ham and Saudis that have done many atrocities.
They're right up our alley, I'm telling you. They're perfect.
I think that's probably quite a good comment as well, because people say about their human rights records and things, but just as like I have to be very careful how I say this, but their placement of women in society isn't perhaps as generous as it is in the West, should we say?
Yeah.
So even things like that, and like the LGBT community and all that kind of thing. It just
especially for a club that advocates the women's team, and obviously a women's team that's trying to get better and have made some good signings this summer and seems to be really progressing, and obviously at the forefront of the Pride of Irons and stuff like that. So actually, yeah, that's a good shout as well. Women only learned to drive, didn't they, or were allowed to drive a couple of years ago. So I can't imagine that going down well with anybody, really.
if you guys can't see the comments here, Neil actually put in here. He said that the EPL told the bid team that it regarded the Saudi Pacific Investment Fund as part of the Saudi state, and it proved to be a key intervention because the kingdom has repeatedly blocked the EPL taking legal action against a pirate broadcaster. Yeah, that would do it. Yeah, a little bit of vengeance, so to speak.
Yeah. So there's a certain amount of politics involved as well. Then
always is.
So
there's a lot of that flying about on West Ham Twitter, which again is probably another reason why it would be perfect fit for our club to get someone like this.
It's, seriously, you could get so caught up in West Ham Twitter, couldn't you?
It's a dangerous place. It really is.
Oh, mate.
Yeah.
It's either really spiteful or really funny on Twitter, isn't it?
Yeah.
Don't say it like that with any other club.
No. And talking of Twitter, let's just have a quick look at Hammer's poll, shall we? See if there's anything on there worth talking about. Right. So what have we got? Oh look, I've answered them all. Right, let's pretend I haven't answered them. Oh boy.
David is selling weapons to Saudi Arabia.
Oh, you missed the one where he says that David goes club or seal clubbing in Alaska.
Human trafficking, please. I'm in Texas.
Oh dear.
Hey, if they give me enough money for them, I probably would. Yeah.
Right, I've lost the Hammers polls, and there wasn't anything good on there anyway. So.
I know Donald Trump is. Yeah.
Was there nothing on the Hammers polls there?
Oh, no, there's not that much, you know.
Is there any questions from the chat? That would be good.
I'm going to try and get it back.
Say if some of the questions aren't good enough, if there's any questions.
Sorry, say again, Tom.
I was going to say if the questions aren't good enough, if there's any questions in the chat, I saw a couple of people asking some opinions and whatnot.
Yeah, well, that's what I was going to go to next. See if anybody wanted to put some. Yeah. Oh, here we go. I think we've discussed this already, haven't we? Look at this one. Ryan Fredericks getting interest from Southampton. Keep him or sell him? I think we've all agreed that we'd sell him, haven't we?
I personally think that he would be a decent backup. I'd keep him as for depth.
I think the question that all boils down to the mathematics involved. So if we could get more money for him than we paid for him, or get enough off the wage bill where it'd make it worthwhile, then yes, I'd knock him on. But if we're gonna sell him at a bloody discount and then have to bring in somebody else, and then pay them a decent wage, is it really worth it if they're going to be, competing with Ben Johnson for right back? I don't know.
I mean, we picked him up on a free, didn't we, when his contract ran down at Fulham? So it would be a profit no matter what way, really. It's just, I guess, the figure that was touted for him.
Is it enough to take a gamble on a new player that's probably coming from the Championship or from the youth ranks?
I think I saw something 7 million around that price, which for me I don't think is enough to reinvest it in somewhere else. I don't think. I think he should stay for, like Chris said, squad depth almost, unless there is of the two fullback positions, left back is the first one I would address first, and then see what we're left with. I think.
Yeah.
Based on that, I'd keep him until we sort of knew if we were going to purchase.
But isn't 7 million a decent chunk though to add to the pot that we're going to have to put together?
Is that
Say
what's on the table? I haven't seen that.
Well, it seems then that the consensus is to keep him then, yes?
I imagine so. Although that's everybody's probably going to say they want to sell him.
Unless they're
There you go.
Yeah, I was going to say,
3 to 1.
unless there's something that's a no-brainer option out there that's, good value for money.
Yeah.
If you can turn him around for $7 million and bring someone in for $5 million that's as good, why not?
If the club said, or the board went out and we sold someone like Anderson and went, right, 15 million for Matty Cash and 10 million for Anthony Robinson, then I'd take that, and then I would get rid of Fredericks that way. But yeah, on that front, I think I'd just keep him and just to see how it sort of pans out in the next few weeks.
Right. Let's go to the chat for some questions. Wally asks, look at this one. Have you seen the third kit?
I've seen
bits of it. No, I was just saying.
I saw some controversy about this today. I've seen a couple of like artists' impressions, if you like, and it looked really good. But then there's been this so-called leaked picture. Yeah, exactly. And it looks like something you'd get on Dagenham Market. It was dog shit. Seriously, it was terrible.
The one that had like the square neck.
The badge was all sort of like hanging like this, and it was crap.
I just have to hope that is not the actual kit. I saw a tweet with regards to that. It says that how is it that amateurs on Twitter are able to
that's the picture.
Design a better kit than actual paid professionals.
Thing is, though, you've got to imagine that Umbro are doing how many different kits worldwide for people, and they just get lazy and bored, and that's the problem, I think. Because it was just like all the Premier League Umbro kits end up looking very similar in terms of style-wise. It's the same with Nike. It's the same, just like Liverpool's new home shirt. I know they were kicking off about it.
Yeah, and to a degree, I agree with that. But if you look at like the Barcelona third kit, it's exactly the same kind of color scheme as ours. It's the black and the gold, and it just looks so much more clean than ours. And
of course it does. It's Barcelona.
But I mean, they're doing so many throughout the world, like you said. I mean, it should be a similar situation with Umbro. I mean, it's hard to mess up a black and gold scheme, and they've somehow managed to successfully do it.
I heard black and gold, and I was literally ready to go take my money. Like I was quite happy to get it.
And then I saw
the actual kit. I am not getting a kit this year.
I think XWHU employee had something on his Twitter about that it's not the one that we've seen the picture of. It's a rounded neck. And it's got like the faded hammers on the bottom of it. I've seen a rendering going around on the internet that looks quite sharp. And if that's the case, then that'll be the one kit that I'll buy this year, because I'm not buying any other crap they put out.
Yeah, for me, the home kit, I love the home kits, but they're all kind of similar to a degree. So once you buy one, for me, it's just, I don't want to keep buying the same one. So I've been wanting to get a different one, and I just hate the new, I personally do not like the new away kit.
I
hate all of this year's kits.
I haven't bought the West Ham.
Everything I've seen so far is absolute crap.
The last shirt I bought was the Farewell Boleyn season. I have
that one. That's my first one.
Yeah, it's the same regurgitated crap every year. It just does it. And this year, it's literally just a carbon copy of that. It's just like, can I copy your homework type thing? It's just not good.
My favorite one is the, I think Steve actually might be wearing it, the all red with this blue sleeves that blue at the very bottom of the sleeve. Yes, that one. That's my favorite.
I quite like this one, actually.
That was quite sharp, yeah.
And there's a training kit similar to this as well, where the blue is on here, and here it's yellow.
That's what I genuinely end up buying the training gear more than I do the shirts, because I think it looks nice.
I really like that one. Yeah.
The black.
Yeah,
that's quite nice this year.
Here's a random question from Charlie. Seriously, the boy needs to go to bed.
If I could moonwalk everywhere, as well as Michael Jackson could moonwalk everywhere, I would moonwalk everywhere.
Yeah, just imagine going around.
That's it for me.
I'm old. My knees.
All I'm saying is I'm 53, and with my hips and my knees, I ain't crawling nowhere, mate.
Yeah, imagine those slippy floors in the supermarkets and that. I could just imagine moonwalking down the aisles. Yeah, I'd rather moonwalk everywhere.
You'd have to have music to go with it too, right?
Dun, dun,
Everywhere you go,
dun, dun, dun.
Hey, there's always music playing in my head.
I did see a question from Irish Tommy about Josh Cullen up there as well, which I thought was interesting.
Yeah. Josh Cullen, where? Let me see.
Who?
Oh, this one.
Is Cullen? No. I love the bloke. He's got a lot of heart. Like I forget what game it was. He was playing with the first team and he got smacked in the face. I think he lost a tooth. He just sort of spat out the blood and kept going.
FA Cup.
That's right.
It was in the cup. Yeah.
That's right.
That earned him a lot of brownie points with me, but I don't think he's quite there. I think he's a championship player.
I read a comment from, I think somebody had uploaded it. It was from one of the Charlton forums that spoke about him. And they spoke so highly of him. I had the chance to meet him once just because he used to get his hair cut in the same place as me when he was at up at, was it Bradford he was up at?
Yeah.
And he's a genuinely nice bloke. And I think he's been with us for a few pre-season tours around, and I don't see necessarily why, if Noble's coming to the latter stage of his career, why you wouldn't want to keep somebody like that in a similar sort of mould. He's at that age now where it's kind of, do we stick or twist? And I still don't think he's been given a fair whack almost to try it. So for me, I'd like to keep him. I don't see any reason to get rid of him.
And I'm very much on the same wavelength as that. He's kind of like, with me, like the Albion Ajeti kind of situation where Ajeti and him both have never really been given a chance. Ajeti, especially this season, and we're already ready to offload him. So I think that Colin especially needs to be given at least a fair chance, even half a season or so, and then we can really make a decision on him.
Dave, I think someone's taking the piss out of your beard here.
What's the biggest animal I've shot while trophy hunting? I went hunting once and never again. I felt so bloody bad.
Meanwhile, I have
yeah,
three sets of deer antlers on my wall.
Yeah, you got 3 sets of deer. Yeah, I shot a deer once. You know, I like venison, but
I like my animals alive.
I think that's something that a very good friend of my wife's lives in North Carolina, and her husband is a proper redneck. Every year he goes out hunting and shoots deer, and they got this big chest freezer and they fill it full of deer and stuff. And Americans, that's like that's a way of life to them. And Brits are like, oh no, it's deer. Yeah, could you imagine? Yeah. Richmond Park.
Yeah.
Oh dear.
I saw someone about Kieran asked about Chris chasing up the Arnie rumor.
Yeah, he got me on one rumor on our show. He said that he was hearing that he had seen a rumor about Arnautovic wanting to come back and like talking to boys. I kind of fell for it. So,
would you free take him if he was linked with us again?
No,
toxic. He's absolutely toxic.
Steve,
I missed. Who is?
What? Arnautovic. Yeah, we were talking about.
Oh yeah,
coming back. Yeah, no, he's poison. We don't want him.
Yeah, sorry. There's a couple of connection issues going on. I was struggling to hear who you was actually talking about.
Yeah, Arnautovic. Yes or no, Steve?
No. I mean, well, I say that. How old is he now? He's like, what is he, 32 or something now?
Yeah.
31.
No, I believe he's 32.
Oh, he's 32.
So, yeah, maybe. No, I don't know.
I wouldn't just for the bad blood.
Charlie's properly on one. Look at this.
One band from history, which would you?
Is S Club 7? S Club 7's this English like high school musical type teeny bopper band.
Oh, right.
Teeny bopper. Word I've not heard in a while.
Yeah,
they're not for me. I do.
Yeah, he's.
Well, if it's crap, who would I like to have a dig at?
I don't know.
know.
The what is it? Tommy put about Moyes.
Yeah, Will Moyes
that one
Christmas.
Yeah, I'm for him staying. I think.
So
I put a poll up on Twitter the other day because I was genuinely interested to see what people's feelings were since Eddie Howe was sacked, whether or not they take Eddie Howe. And I was quite surprised, actually, large portion just saying based off of last season that they wouldn't, especially somebody that had been linked with the Arsenal and England job and places like that. But for me, I think Moyes has done enough in the 2 spells that has warranted him to stay at the club. I don't believe fully that the 2 signings in January were his. I think they were lined up ready to come before he came to the club. But I think he's shown and he's kept us up twice, or the first time round it wasn't necessarily like a keep us up job, but he did well, I think, and I think he deserves his opportunity with a full window backing to see where he can take us. And then with the question, something worries me that he won't last beyond Christmas. I think I'm not sure if we'll get off to a flying start under him. I don't know. That bit remains to be seen, but I think for me, I think he deserves at least a crack of the whip with one full transfer window behind him to see what he can do and really implement his style to the squad, because he's always taken over the previous manager's teams. So if he gets ball backing by the board this summer, I think then yeah, I'd like to see what he can do with us beyond just the last 6 months of the season. I think we need stability. That's why I think we've gone through too many managers in the last couple of years after Bilic. I think we need to bring some stability back to the club. And hopefully it's with Moyes. I mean, it sounds weird to say.
Well, I can remember when I was younger, when I were a lad, the West Ham were famous for the longevity of their managers. We weren't one of the clubs that just knee-jerk reaction change the manager all the time. I think maybe we should get back to that.
I think up until like Kerbishley left, I think we were the only team that we'd had the fewest managers ever in the history of football. Almost, I think it was like 7 or 8 or something daft. We'd always have that longevity. So for me, it's just I don't think there's been really any stability beyond. I still don't think Bilic should have been sacked, but that's I guess a story for another day. But it's been too up and down for me the last few years.
I think I've started to see a style of play that's come out with Moyes, certainly since the restart, for sure. That's something we've been missing at West Ham for a while, is like an identity. Like, what is our style of football? What is it we're actually trying to do? And I see something coherent coming from Moyes. Now, a lot of people are slagging him off. I'm hoping I'm saying all of the prayers I can, and I'll sacrifice a couple of chickens or something. That hopefully he's going to do all right. I mean, I'm not expecting us to come out world beaters and go top 4 next year, but I think a good solid season under Moyes next year.
Yeah,
it's quite sad, really.
So my opinion on this, and Tommy can attest to this too, with our post-match live streams. Since the restart, I have been very encouraged by his I don't know if it was the players or his managerial skills. But if he can keep the squad motivated like that and have at least a few of his own players come in, like a few decisions of his own, I do want to see him given a chance. But in my opinion, I put David Moyes on a short leash solely because we waited too long to sack Pellegrini. If we were going to do it, we should have done it much earlier. So we can't fall into another rhythm of something like that and wait and let it go to Christmas. Let his contract expire, be in a bad spot, and then try to bring someone else in because we're not going to be able to attract anybody. If we're failing early on in the season, September, October, and we're not in a good place, sack him, and then there's still time to turn it around so they can bring in someone who actually might have a little bit of a better outlook and be able to change things around.
Yeah, I think it's quite sad actually because a lot of the fans after the first 2 games were calling for his head, but then I saw the same fans after we were safe that said, "Oh yeah, let's really get behind David Moyes." And I want Charlie, because I know Charlie's in the live chat, I want him to say that I did say even before the restart that I did want David Moyes to stay to try and have that first summer behind him where he actually knows he's safe in the job for at least a few months and he actually will get that team behind him and he can implement his own style and the team that he wants. But I just think it's quite sad that he was almost, after those first 2 games, which were tough games to do after restart with Wolves and Spurs, but the same fans that were slating him wanted him as manager, and it was like, oh yeah, it's time to give him a chance as soon as he started winning a few games. So which one is it to those fans really? Because I think he's been dealt such an unfair hand after Everton. I still think there's a brilliant manager in there. I just think that his confidence was shot after what happened at United, and I don't think that was his fault. I just think he went into I'm not going to swear, Charlie, but yeah, no, I didn't say that. I think he was dealt such an unfair hand at United, and it almost ruined him. Because if he knew he was stable at a club for multiple seasons, I think that he could try to get back to what he was doing at Everton. And I don't think that ship has necessarily sailed, but I still think there is obviously, because if Ferguson saw a great manager in him, it just clearly that there is something there in him. Like I said, he's taken the wrong jobs, and it's kind of derailed his career, unfortunately.
Yeah. I think that he should be given the full season myself. I hear what you're saying, Chris, about be decisive and act early and stop any potential rot setting in that may set in if he is kept on. But then, will he have been given a fair crack of the whip? Would he have been given a fair go at doing what he wants to do? I mean, I can remember one of our most loved managers, John Lyle, and I can remember he getting relegated with John Lyle, and we still stuck with him and came back up. And he is a much revered and a much loved manager at West Ham. And it just, if it just worries me that if we'd been as quick to maybe pull the trigger on him as maybe we are now in modern football. But
it's like Tommy said there in the comments about the players really seem to like Moyes. I think you saw that from Declan Rice when he scored that goal. He really went and celebrated it with David Moyes afterwards, and I think that is a really good sign that he has the players hopefully singing off the same hymn sheet. And I know Charlie would get rid of him in a heartbeat, but Charlie's a hater. So, but yeah, I mean,
Charlie's
got the devil in him tonight, hasn't he?
He always does. Yeah, he did bring Jordan Hugill to us. That's the only reason why. Actually, yeah, Charlie, you should love him. He did. He got his Hugill. You should love him.
I think. Well, I mean, what is it? They say no Premier League manager can survive 6 straight losses. I think that's I think that's a fair cutoff, isn't it? If you come out the gate and we have a period where we lose 6 games, you chuck him on and get somebody else in.
Sorry, I'm laughing at Charlie's comment.
Yeah. But yeah, to a degree, that's why I'm saying a short leash. If we come out of the gates roaring and then we kind of fall back a little bit, but we're not in a bad position, I'm perfectly fine. But if we start out the first 4 matches of the season going with 1 draw and 3 losses, that's when I start suggesting that something along those lines. I just don't want us to fall too far. If we start falling too far back too early on, I don't know if we're going to be able to have that kind of time to turn it around, and that's why I would change it earlier on, but rather than letting it go late like we did Pellegrini.
I generally don't think if Fabianski didn't get injured, I don't think we'd be sat here talking about Moyes.
I agree. That or if he didn't keep Roberto in for as long as he did.
Yeah, I genuinely still think we'd be with Pellegrini now. If I'm genuinely putting a lot of those mishaps under Pellegrini down to Roberto.
Yeah, and that's fair. But I mean, at some point you also have to question it. Why did he keep going that long? Why did he let him stay? Because he's the one picking the team. You can blame the player all you want, but at the end of the day, if the manager keeps chucking him out there to the Wolves, then whose fault really is it then at that point?
And he's the one who bought him as well.
Yeah. Had Fabianski not been available, he would have been our first choice. I remember X saying that. That's who we wanted over Fabianski at first, which is a terrifying notion. Gary, what's Roberto done wrong to deserve this criticism?
They Alaves want to keep him. Apparently, he's been their star player.
Madrid.
They're having some fun in the chat, aren't they? And everybody who has joined in the chat this evening, I thank you all. It's been great watching it all go up there. It has been rather distracting as well at times, talking about S Club 7 and things. And Charlie, you're a stinker.
We didn't get curries.
Oh, I know. Could you imagine, please?
Quick, Charlie. There's only a few minutes left.
We've just broken the hour, so I think we're going to call it a night there, or a morning, or an afternoon, depending on where you are in the world. Thank you all for watching. Gents, it's been a pleasure meeting you all. Tom, I think we actually bumped into each other on the boat once, but it was a while ago. Yeah, maybe. I think so.
I was probably plastered at the time, Steve. That's probably why.
Well, I'll tell you what, I've been minging on that boat a couple of times now. It's great fun. Fellas, if you ever get over to watch a game, come down to the Hammers Chat boat. It is fantastic.
You won't remember much.
We took Tim down there.
Yes, I've seen
and he had a great time. Great time.
Yeah.
And Gary was with us as well, wasn't he?
Can't remember.
Right. Thank you all in the chat for watching. Thank you all if you're just watching and you're not in the chat. And if you are watching after the event, thank you for doing that as well. Fellas, I'll talk to you all after. And come on, you irons.
Irons.
Come on, you irons.